Good morning. Welcome to Radio Friends on Friday, October the 9th, and I'm so excited because I've got my old friend, my old co-worker, and yes, I say old.
Yeah, that's the right word. Thank you. Guilty as charged.
You recognize the voice? I don't think I even need to introduce him. Go ahead, talk a little bit more there.
Well, I will. And, since you brought up the word old, reliable sources told me that just 6 days ago on October 3rd, when Paul Pepper turned 75 years old.
That's right.
Happy birthday.
Thank
A few
you.
days late. You look great. You don't look a day over 74.
Thank you.
I mean, you really look good. You are aging well like a fine bottle of wine. Happy
you.
birthday, Paul.
Thank you, Chris Gervino. Hey, the last time you were on, we had so many comments about your appearance. People really do love you in Central Missouri.
Well, likewise, and you're nice to say that about me, but that was probably then. This is now, and I'm just old news.
No, hey,
I might be.
No, you're even though you're not on the television, but you're doing your play-by-plays. They're playing games.
They're playing
aren't they?
football. Remember, I was on with you in the summer,
Right?
And you said I had to come back because we're going to see what the sports landscape is like. And sure enough, here
Oh,
we
yeah,
are.
yeah.
And I know you're into sports so much, so the least I could do is come and help whet your appetite for all the games. And Missouri's playing. Of course, they have had one home game so far against Alabama, and that was a tough one. But most people lose to Alabama, unfortunately. But Mizzou will be home again on the 17th of October, a week from Saturday, coming up against Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Now, how are you doing you're doing play-by-play, right?
Yeah, well, technically for football, I'm on the field. I do the sideline reporting.
Okay.
So that's a little different.
So how are you doing that and staying social distancing?
Well, it's interesting. They have, Paul, that the players and coaches on the sideline are in a certain restricted area, which is only for them, kind of their little bubble is the term they use a lot. And then I have to stay on one end of the field or the other, and I literally keep my distance from them. We have to wear masks, which is a little annoying, but I guess we're all getting used to it as we can.
You know what? It's much better to wear a mask than a respirator.
No, that's true.
Think
Good
of
point.
that.
Good
Think
point.
of that. Wear a mask. That way you don't have to have the respirator tube stuck down your throat.
That's well said. It still takes a little time for me to get used to, but I will. I've had to. So it's just interesting to broadcast a football game wearing a mask, but you keep your distance, and there aren't nearly as many people on the field as there normally are. Oftentimes they've allowed some fans or bigger donors, if you will, to get down on the field and get a good look at the game, and there were a lot of just extra people. But now it's really the bare minimum, the game players, coaches, officials, and the few announcers. So there's actually much more space to operate and do your job. Very different, though. Not as many fans, 12,000 fans at the stadium when normally it holds 62,000. So,
yeah.
But they're playing games.
Okay, but how did that affect your enthusiasm, your ability to be Chris Gervino?
Well, I think and hope I was still enthusiastic. I'm still me. I'm just wearing a mask.
Right.
And there aren't as many people around, but it's still
a lot
a game.
of times, people who work with audiences and with big crowds, you draw your energy from those crowds.
No, that's true. It's a little different. I mean, it was, in some ways, I guess, a bit surreal because you're used to thousands upon thousands of fans being there.
Yeah.
And again, there was a mere fraction of that. That is 11,700 is the capacity they're using at Furrow Field this season when it seats 62,000. Now, not every game is sold out, but they usually would have 50, 55,000.
But how are they keeping people apart?
It's interesting. If you're with, like your family, your immediate group, you can sit together, but kind of like in a pod. So they have the seats all separated by chair backs, with seat cushions, and they're spread out throughout the stadium. And then like for the students on the hill by the Rock M, they had designated areas like big white chalk circles or squares, which would block off areas, and they were distant from each other. So they've had to be very creative at Mizzou. But I think it worked. I mean, as we visit, there have not been any, bad news stories or serious problems from the game because they really did have a lot of time to prepare for this as the virus, unfolded, so to speak, throughout the summer.
What about basketball?
Good question. We're still waiting on details of that, but they plan on playing. They're going to push the start of the season back a week to Thanksgiving weekend, which really makes sense to me. And again, as a knowledgeable sports person, when basketball would start at the beginning of November.
You're so sarcastic, Chris.
Not me. Basketball, frankly, would get overshadowed by football, because football has
Right,
always been the
right.
most popular sport. It just is. But this way, basketball starts a little later, and they'll have a little more time maybe for their own introduction. And they're going to play fewer games, like 25 games as opposed to the usual 30. And I think they're waiting and watching football and learning, as we all are, as things go along.
Yeah. So you're going to be doing the basketball.
Yes, sir. That's the plan right now.
Then what happens after basketball?
Well, we'll make it through March, and good Lord willing, we're all standing and healthy. I'll probably exhale and take a deep breath for a lot of reasons after these kooky times.
Right, right. So things are working out well for you. You're enjoying the semi-retirement.
Yeah, slower
Semi-retirement.
schedule, yeah. And can you believe it's been 3 months already? I was done at Channel 8 July 1st. My last on-air date technically was the late June. And here we are in early October. It's been
Yeah.
3 months. And time just flies. So you'll be amazed whenever you decide to retire.
Well,
'cause
I
you're
am
only
retired.
75.
I am semi-retired,
I guess that's,
too.
but you keep doing your job here on Radio Friends, and it seems like you never slowed down.
This is so nice. This is so nice doing this. When we were doing Pepper and Friends, we were doing an hour live show every day, 5 days a week.
Don't you look back and wonder, how'd we do that?
Yes, exactly.
Time consuming.
Because we would go through, 15 or 20 guests at a time, and then you finish that hour show, and, tomorrow, you got to do another one.
It's amazing.
And
you get out of the routine.
Yes.
But life goes on, and time still flies, and I've had plenty to do. So, knock on wood, it's been great, and the days and weeks just keep rolling right along.
Right. Well, you look great, and
Likewise.
I think semi-retirement is working out well for you. Do you have any advice for people who are looking down the road and saying, I want to be just like Chris Gervino?
Well, first of all, set your bar higher. We need loftier goals. But no, it works well. You have to think things through and make sure you're in a good enough position to do what you'd like to do. But I'm just blessed. We talked about it
I know
last
that,
time. I'm
Chris.
very lucky. And you are too. I'm
Yes,
following your
very.
lead, so to speak.
Believe me, I know how blessed I am. I feel very, very fortunate to have had that job as long as I did doing Pepper and Friends, and then that came to an end, and to be here doing Radio Friends. This is a dream come true, and I know I'm blessed, and I appreciate it. I appreciate KBIA. I appreciate the listeners that are still with us. And I appreciate people like you coming on here and talking to us.
Well, it's always good to catch up with you again. We've had a good run, the two of us, over
we
many
have.
years.
Will you come back again?
I suppose so.
Oh,
I
please
will.
do. And
I
bring
will.
that sarcastic tongue with you, too.
I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you, Paul. Happy birthday.
Thank you, Chris.
75.
You're still a baby, though, aren't you? You're not even 55 yet.
I'm not. You're right.
Okay, I got 25 senior time. Have yourself a nice day. And wear that mask when you go out. Remember, that's better than having the respirator tube down your throat. All right? We shouldn't complain about it. Bye-bye.